In the quest for the ultimate study buddy, which iPad will reign supreme? I get this question so often, I decided to just tackle it head on and just put out a video on it, really going into the details. I like to do a lot of work for people up front and give some opinions to make that buying decision easier on them. So hopefully that's the case here. But if you're a student and you're looking for the best iPad for you, I think you're gonna find this super interesting. Before we get into it, you gotta check out the newsletter. It's free, comes out on Fridays. It'll take 30 seconds to get you up to speed on everything that you might care about in the Apple realm and beyond. And if you haven't checked out my courses, now's the time to do it. And right now you can pre-order my course on AI so you can take advantage of all the opportunities coming your way. I'm gonna link this all up down below. I've pulled a couple up here, the Mini, the Air, and the Pro, just so we can kind of start this discussion. It's really gonna center on price, functionality, and performance and needs. If I had to just pick something, I would say the iPad Air with the M2 is currently the favorite, just for its balance of performance and cost. That said, if you need or want more power or just more bells and whistles, then the iPad Pro M4 is obviously gonna be awesome. I've said many times that there's nothing wrong with the just base entry-level iPad, especially for students, in terms of just like, it's less bare bones than you would think. And not to just like beat a dead horse here, but I'll say this over and over and over again. When you hear the word Pro in the Apple lineup, talking about the iPhone Pro or the MacBook Pro, whatever the Pro is, I'm very adamant that the Pro there is you and how you use a device. I'll do very pro things on the base entry-level iPad, and I'll do very pro things on the maxed out MacBook, with the latest chip, or whatever. Like, it comes down to me and the way that I'm gonna use it. Now, there are some limitations, right? If you go with a device that has a little bit less power and maybe, the specs aren't quite as nice. But that said, information is information. And so if you put together a paper and do some research or whatever on the base level or the Pro, that's not gonna be really any different. So it really comes down to, what is your budget? What do you need to accomplish? And I guess for a lot of people, unfortunately, it's gonna be like, well, how's it gonna look in class? That's the last thing that you should worry about, to be very honest. And let me just say a little word about the iPad mini. I think a lot of people aren't just looking at this right off the bat because they think it's too small, you know what I mean, to be like the main device in a school setting. The thing is, what I like about the mini, especially for students, is that it's my favorite place to handwrite stuff. Like if I'm taking notes or if I'm brainstorming, I default to actually the iPad mini with the Apple Pencil. And now that it comes with the Apple, you can get the Pencil Pro with it. Yeah, like it's my favorite place to handwrite notes. I mean, the handheld form factor is awesome. It's portable, so if you're taking it with you in the backpack or whatever, to, from, class, home, school, whatever, then it's great. Not awesome for typing though, is the problem. Before we get any further, one of the best things you can do is get yourself a paper-like for your iPad. It doesn't matter what iPad you get. If you're a student, if you use the Apple Pencil, this is such an upgrade. You definitely don't want to get your screen all messed up if you're throwing this in your backpack or if you're letting other people borrow it. You definitely do want to cut out glare and fingerprints, right? While still making sure your content looks amazing, even though you get that great paper-like texture and feel. Highly recommended for any iPad user, students in particular. It's one of my favorite iPad accessories for a good reason. Check it out, it's linked up down below. So if your goal is to go into a lecture and just like record everything with transcription and AI and take your notes that way, sort of on autopilot, then maybe you don't need that. Or if you're just gonna dictate the majority of your work, maybe you don't need to worry about the typing. I feel like for most students though, that still isn't quite gonna be the case. You're gonna wanna input via text and type at a little bit here and there. And anyways, if you're gonna do some gaming, maybe you want that as well. And if you want a bigger screen, for your off time, because you are gonna watch some Netflix, you are gonna play some games probably, you probably shouldn't, you're gonna do it more than you should, then that's why I think people are leaning mostly towards the Air if you're a student by default. Bigger screen, number one, and just a better typing experience with a decent amount of power. Even so, Apple recently redesigned the keyboard situation for the basic, the entry level, and I gotta tell you, it's not my favorite. I don't like it better than the keyboard that you can get for either the Air or the Pro. And while we're talking about keyboards, I will just say, the Magic Keyboard, the new one for the Pros, is my favorite typing experience on an iPad, period. So if you're really optimizing for that, screens aside, price aside or whatever, if you're gonna be caring about typing and you want the best, then that's the best. I just made a video about that too. So if you want to see my follow-up review, it's on this channel. Just search for Daily Tech 2 and long-term Magic Keyboard for iPad review. But the Pro's expensive. Yes, it's the thinnest. Yes, it's got an OLED screen, but do students really need the best of the best of the best? When you're in school, you're like figuring things out. And if you don't have like a rich parent to just buy you whatever you want, and if you're, especially if you're buying this for yourself, like you'll have time later in life to worry about having the coolest, the best, most powerful tech. At the moment though, like optimize for where you're at and what you're doing, the situations where you are. Don't do the FOMO thing where you need to keep up with the Joneses. This is not the time to do that. Like just double down and concentrate on the bare bones of what you need to accomplish, which is learning. So if you're on a budget, snag that iPad 10th gen. It's cool. It comes in fun colors. It's really great. I would say skip the Pro if you're a student, unless you just have cash to throw away. My default recommendation though is if you can swing it, go for the Air. I think most students should probably not go for the Mini, although I think there will be exceptions to that, and you'll know if that's you. Ironically, the Mini is not the cheapest iPad, right? And there's a reason for that. But I would say if you're looking for sort of a middle of the road that doesn't give you middling results, if that makes sense, you can push the creative boundaries and limits with the Air easily. And it has like the size options there for you. So if you want to optimize for a bigger screen, because maybe you're not going to hook this up to an external monitor or anything that's going to be as big as it gets for you in the dorm room or whatever, then maybe you want that bigger screen. But if you want a smaller size, like just something that's lighter, fits in the backpack, easy to carry around or whatever, easier to hold if you're going to be reading a big long textbook, PDF, for a long time, maybe optimize for the smaller. So if you're a student and you ask me, my pick for you would be the iPad Air. Save some money off of the Pro, still grab yourself the keyboard, grab yourself the Apple Pencil. Which size should you go with? This is the age-old question. I have the same dilemma with the phone, as I'm sure you do too, but whatever one I get, if I get the smaller version, then I feel like the grass is greener, I want the bigger. If I get the bigger, I feel like the grass is greener, I want the smaller. So that's kind of up to you. I probably, if I had to do it, I would probably get the larger one right now if I was back in college or something. I've produced so many videos on the best apps for the iPad. A lot of them, the videos that I've made, center on productivity and note-taking. So if you're looking for some great apps to load up on as a student, go back, search for Daily Tech, Daily TEKK, and apps for iPad. It's true, the keyboard on the Air at the moment is like the old Magic Keyboard for the Pro, and so it doesn't have the function key, row, etc. But I still love the way that it types. And the don't skimp out and get like a crazy keyboard off of Amazon or something. Those are so junky, and you'll just be fighting with it all year. You'll hate it. It's worth springing a little bit extra. This is why I say, don't get the Pro, save a little money, and then get the accessories for the Air, and you'll just be golden.